they think, hey, I know how to do everything. I'm therefore worth a lot more money. And like, okay, incrementally, yes, but leadership and understanding people and how to rally a team is a totally different skill set than I just know how to do everything.
Well, welcome everybody. We have got a very, very special treat today. As I take a sip from my FrostBuddy mug to kick things off, we have Brock and Mitch Mammoser, two brothers from a small farming town in Illinois. They went from pole vaulting in the Big Ten to launching the fastest growing drinkware brand in the country. Their idea is pretty simple, but it's very, very game changing. And I can't wait to dive in to the hows and whys of this company. But what a rocket ship and what a great story. Brock and Mitch, welcome from Grit to Growth. And let's kick it off with how on earth, in such a crowded market, and by the way, right after COVID, if I'm not mistaken, you guys looked at each other and said, hey, let's start this drinkware brand. Tell us the story.
Go ahead, Brock.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of in the heart of COVID, which looking back, I think a lot of people were looking to drink some more, drink COVID. So probably helped to start a koozie type of brand. But no, I was home over a Christmas break. I was still a senior at IU at the time. And Mitch and I were just out back, literally chatting about ideas that, what are some business ideas that we could do? What are some different things? I had started some prior businesses that, didn't really succeed, but obviously taught me some stuff. And that's when Mitch brought up the ideas. He's like, is there a slim can cooler or a slim Yeti, essentially is what he said. And I was like, I've never seen that, but I do see a lot of White Claws at college. Like that was kind of the basis of it. Was like, I was like, well, the slim can thing is getting really big. So maybe there might be something there. And went inside, quick Google search, quick Amazon search. We saw one other brand and that was it, just one. And they appeared to be doing well. We really don't know if they were. Now we know they were doing pretty well. And that was really it, right? We were like, hey, let's jump in. I knew how to get samples from Alibaba. I knew how to source it, and kind of just sourced our first sample of a slim, and then that was how we initially got started in the market. Was just, hey, can we be second to this guy that's already crushing it?
And you started with koozies, correct? I mean, if for lack of better description.
Yeah. We started with the slim, and then actually it wasn't probably 4 months later that 9 other brands were on Amazon with a slim can cooler. As we now learn, doing stuff overseas, things are replicated quickly. And that was when we were like, okay, we need something unique, something different. And that is when we were like, what if we just put all these different drink sizes together? Because Yeti is selling a 12-ounce one, a 16-ounce one, and a slim one. I think we can make something that just fits all of these in one. And that's where we came up with the Universal Buddy. And that's kind of that differentiator that we needed to kind of enter such a saturated market, I would say.
Right. Our kids all did track and field, and I've always wondered about the people that did pole vaulting, that they kind of maybe have a screw loose. And so both of you, not just one of you, but both of you pole vaulted. Do you think that's something that really helps you as founders, having that competitive nature behind you and the fact that you also did something a little obscure? Did that help you with founding the company and competing or not?
Mitch, you can start.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Pole vaulting specifically, I would say like the athletic background, 100%. So like growing up, like we played, I mean, from the time we were little, it's like wiffle ball in the backyard from 5 years old. We have two older brothers, and we always had like family wiffle ball night in the summer. So it was like just the competitiveness, the adversity, the injuries, the setbacks. Like I think it all goes hand in hand with running business and just the willpower to keep going during every setback. I would say is the biggest advantage that athletes get in the business world over other people.
So you got this universal buddy in your hand. You're ready to put it on the market. Like what's next? How do you guys work together to say, okay, I've got the greatest product in the world. Now, how do I get it out there?
I mean, that was I think, my vision from the start wasn't even necessarily about the product. It was more so I had a vision for how we would market something. And I think that is probably important to know that, we knew, especially because I was in college, Mitch was a State Farm agent. We needed something digital, and we needed something that I could run from a computer. And so that we could ship to a warehouse, not touch it, and have it go out the door. And so the whole thing was always going to be video, photo, digital content via, Facebook. TikTok wasn't a thing yet, but Instagram, maybe even Snapchat. And so, that was kind of it, right? Was we knew we were going to do Facebook ads, Google ads from the very start. And so it was kind of like, hey, okay, let me start posting photos. Let me start seeing what other brands are doing. How can I do this? How can I get people to buy this without actually being in person selling it to you? What was the idea? So yeah, it was like, hey, let's start basically digitally marketing this thing and try to figure that out.
Which was a total foreign world to me. It was like I come from the insurance world where it's like, we're selling a commodity product, right? Digital marketing, there's not really a differentiator per se. And being able to see it through of who, click here, see the ad, click here, buy. It doesn't work that way. So like when we were starting out, I remember it's like Brock's like, I'm spending $20 a day, and I'm like, that's $600 a month, which the world I was coming from, like that's a lot of money, and we're not exactly rolling it in here. So it was definitely a growth. Like I remember when he scaled from like $20 a day in ads to $100 a day in ads to $1,000 a day in ads, and it's like, holy cow, this is a different world for me.
You guys have been bootstrapped though too, right? You've just kind of done this right out of your pocket. And a lot of our founders that we talk to, one of their first questions is, I got to raise money. I got to figure out where to get cash. And, how did you guys approach that?
I can probably take this one, Brock. So like starting out, it was like, I'd been at State Farm for 2 years, running my own agency, and it's, so I'd saved up some money, and it was really, hey, I'll buy the first 2,000 units. You run it till you graduate, get a real job. He never got a real job. And that was kind of that was how it really started. It's like nobody thinks going into it, hey, you're going to turn this into a multi-million-dollar business or whatnot. It was really an idea of, hey, this will be fun to do with Brock, and let's see what happens. And, I think we sold the first 2,000 units, and we turned around, took that cash, bought more inventory. So in the beginning, it was this kind of get the inventory, sell it, wait 4 to 8 weeks to get more inventory. That comes in, we figure out how do we sell this again. So it was like buy 2,000. I think we bought like 4,000 or something, and then 9,000. Then it got to a point where it's like, we used essentially the cash that I had for a line of credit as the inventory grew. And then, if I remember, I think I could take us up to I think we had a line of credit of like 350 grand. But then when it got to like, we need to order like 60,000 units, the bank looked at me and was like, well, you can't back it. So, that's when we brought in a third partner, and essentially used his line of credit or his net worth to back our line of credit. And he kind of brought a different skill set at that time that worked out really well for us.
Who's really a friend of the family, right?
Yeah, well, he went to high school with our dad.
Mm-hmm.
grew up. I knew his kids, and he's known our family. We've known him my entire life. So, he actually was helping us negotiate to take on another partner and a deal. They kind of threw out a deal, and at that time we had a lot of trust in Jerry, and we were like, "Would you do it instead?" And
Oh,
he was kind
that's
of like, "I just negotiated my own deal." So yeah, I think for him it was like, how do I play this mentor slash investor role, because it's kind of
right.
conflicting, and honestly, it's worked out. We've learned a lot about each other and how to. It's a totally different balance between the three of us.
I think it's refreshing too, because you guys approached it from, okay, we're not sure what we're doing, but we're going to figure it out as we go. Walk us through the numbers from a standing start to where you are today and what you're projecting. And I know you've shared this in the past, and if just tell our listeners what you guys see for the future too.
Yeah, go ahead, Brock.
Man, I'll try to remember what our numbers were. I think in year one, what was it, Mitch? When did we cross
So
the million?
we really started selling in like June of 2020, May of 2020. And we did just shy of $1 million in that first 7 months. I think it was like 900 grand in revenue. And then in 2021 we jumped up to 12 million. And then 22 we did 18 million. 23 we did I believe 23 million, and then in 2024 we did 28 million, I believe, and then this year we're going to push like right at 70, I believe.
Wow.
Is where we should finish up. So this should end up being our best year yet.
And you started really with one product
Yeah.
and direct to consumer e-commerce only, right? With the marketing.
Yeah, more or less. We had one convenience store. They got like 20 locations, which I knew them growing up. They took a chance with us in the beginning, but it was primarily direct to consumer.
Primarily direct to consumer, one wholesale partner. And then now where are you at? You had that one product. How many products you got now? And, where are you located across the country? And really, even if you're across the world, are you guys global?
Not really global. I can talk on the retail. Brock can probably talk more on the direct to consumer. So now we're in a boatload of mom and pop shops. So I would guess 2,500 mom and pop shops, like boutique, gift store, souvenir shops, and then Dick's Sporting Goods, Bucky's, TJ Maxx, Rural King, Hy-Vee, Rally House, Alumni Hall. So those are some of the bigger accounts that we're growing with.
Yeah, and so many college affiliations as well. That's got to be a good way to get your hooks in consumers early, and then keep that affinity going over their lifetime. I mean, how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, the licensing world definitely came at a later. I mean, it came basically. Well, to us, it came middle last year. There's definitely a longer story that I won't go into on how we initially got into it. But, first off, probably about a year and a half in, I always have my sights on college just because I was like, it makes sense tailgating for that to be the product. Plus, we love, like Mitch said, we love sports. I love college football, really watching all sports. And so, it was like, how can you turn, not that I'm not super passionate about drinkware, but like I am going to be really passionate if I can put colleges on there, things that I love to watch. And so we actually applied to like 25 of the top schools, not knowing any. I mean, we did not know anything about licensing. Got denied probably by all 25. Probably wasted $5,000 of just like application fees because I had no clue. So then it came about, 2 years ago. I knew all the things not to do when applying, and so our head of sales at the time, we were kind of talking about getting these licenses, and I basically was like, okay, basically we need to meet with all these directors before we apply, let them know why we're different, why we're not Yeti, why we're not this competitor, and how they're going to get incremental revenue. And then we're going to apply after we meet with them. And we ended up getting, it was about a 99% acceptance rate by the schools. And I think we got 80 colleges in 2 months in licensing. And, we actually do a lot of print on demand in our warehouse in Illinois, which gives us flexibility that most do not have in the licensed world because, small quantities, right? We might not sell a lot of University of Vermont, but we have it. And so that was kind of how we got into it. And then it's just kind of snowballed from there of going, okay, this is hitting a brand new market for us and a new audience. How can we find other new audiences through that avenue? And that's where, NHL came, MLB, National Lampoon,
Snowball,
Margaritaville. And yeah, it's kind of, honestly, it's still brand new. This is a 1.5-year-old licensing business that we're getting into, but we accidentally did it the best way possible because we had a massive brand before getting the licenses. And if you really look in the license space, most of them have no brand. They just have licenses.
Right.
So it's like a perfect storm now.
And I would add to that, like when we say like our head of licensing or like our director of licensing and our head of sales, they didn't come from that background. Like our head of sales, fresh out of college, he started with us on commission only because we had no money to pay him. So it's like eat what you kill here. And he just figured it out. And he is actually the one that kind of got us into the licensing. And then like now our director of licensing, not her background, but has figured it out and kind of has our mentality of, you know what, I'm just going to figure it out. And she's really, really good. They're like our age or younger. So
that's really something to talk about because there's quite a few founders we run into that love to talk about how their town is so small and it's hard to acquire talent and it's hard to grow. Maybe you guys talk about Effingham a little bit and, how many people you started with, which was probably just you two, and who you've got now.
We started out, and me and Jerry were talking about this the other day, like, because it is, for me, that is the fun part. Like, I love the people side of this. I do and I don't, but so for me, yeah, we started out with just Brock and I, and that was kind of the appeal for me of, hey, we get to work together every day and we'll talk every day. And I think our our first hire was actually a kid on Brock's track team. And he's not with us anymore, but we joke with him of like, dude, you'd have been the number one employee. But we started off, it was just the two of us. And then I was doing the shipping out of my office. Brock was doing the online, the product development, and our first hire was customer service. So like I was getting bombarded with emails and it was daunting to where I had no life. And I would have 100 emails and orders to look up a day and figure out what's going on. So I actually connected with a guy in Effingham, who shared with me like about virtual assistants. And he gave me a blueprint how to hire a gal, and she's out of the Philippines. And we talk with her daily. Probably the best hire I ever made. And I think she's now hired every single family member that she knows. But she manages, she hires, she fires, and I think we now have like 15 customer service team members, and they handle all the emails, texts, calls, Facebook messages, like everything comes into one channel and they manage that. That's like an area that's not an issue because she's really, really good. And then I can speak kind of on the warehousing. So for a while, we used we found third party logistics, and we've moved our inventory. We started out in, my office, then a small shop in Huntsville, Alabama, that we had no visibility on the inventory. There was no software, which we were small at that point, so not a big deal. And then we went to Pennsylvania to a pretty big operation, but they were not good whatsoever. Like our product would show up and it would take them 2 weeks to just check it in. So the operations weren't there. And then we moved to Chicago to a different company. And then last year, we decided to bring the shipping back in-house here in Effingham. And from the warehouse side, like at the beginning of this year, so we started the warehouse here in March of 24, so March of last year. So we've been doing it about a year and a half. And I hired a guy that was handling all of our logistics, moving the inventory from warehouse to warehouse as we would move companies. And he moved down here to Effingham. And we've grown from him to now we've got, I think I counted the other day, I'm up to like 92 people in the warehouse.
Wow.
And then Brock can speak a little bit more on, and that obviously there's some peak season, so we're ramping that up. I would say by the end of the year, I'll have about 130 people in here. Brock can speak more on the Amazon team, the, graphics, design, marketing. That's more his area.
I mean, my team, I think mine's a little easier than like the warehouse, right? Because, we can do a lot bigger numbers with a lot less people because it's all, it's all digital. But I would say, we started with really just me making videos, making the video ads. I hired a paid media guy agency really early on, which was, I ran all the Facebook and Google ads for the first probably year and a half. And eventually I was just spending all my time doing the paid media and not actually running anything else. And I was like, okay, that was kind of the first I probably need to hire someone that's better than me at this. But it was the best thing ever because, I learned everything there is to learn about it. So I could ask the right questions and also manage effectively. So hired that. That's when we really started to scale up. And that was when I, was like, okay, what else can I hire? Who else can I hire? And that's where we, brought on Cedric from Amazon. Ironically enough, I found him on Upwork, which if you were to tell someone that you found your head of Amazon on Upwork, they would be like, you're actually insane. I would just say it's a stroke of luck. Two of my best people that we still have today are from Upwork. So,
Very resourceful of you guys.
I found
in the Philippines.
Yeah, I found a 3D render guy. So that was probably my most important hire. I was taking all the product photos myself. And I was like, God, why does these other companies' photos look so much better than mine? I was like, they're all the same. Mine are like, I have a tripod set up. I got the white background. I got the lighting. And it still doesn't look as good. And then I zoom in one day and I'm like, holy crap. That's because that's not even a real photo. That's literally just fake. And so that was my insight into 3D rendering. And so went on, found a guy, and I basically showed an example. I was like, can you make this, but for ours? And still have him today. Now he has 8 people underneath him that are doing, they're doing everything from our renders to our ads to our web banners to package everything graphically that you can think of.
Amazing.
And it kind of just snowballed from there. What I will say is, I would say we're not much deeper than just having kind of heads of each department still. And I don't want to have managers. I just want to have doers, and I'll probably keep it like that forever. I would rather less people doing more and kind of one person's vision. I hate groupthink. I think one person or 2 people max should be making decisions on creatively. And I still make 90% of the videos that you see on TikTok, on Instagram. I have added more people to try and push out more videos, but today after this call, I'm going to go make 100 videos. So
you are prolific on the video front.
Yeah.
And I think you're finding your stride there. Do you think that's the primary channel of how people come to you? Maybe to phrase it differently, let's get into where customers find you guys, how they find you. And then, the question I always have, once they buy one product from you, do they come back and get another one and another one?
Majority, are coming from video. So TikTok's going to lead the whole thing now. That's not how it used to be. It was, it's always been actually us finding people, right? I would actually say that we're finding them. They're not finding us through ads, through Facebook and Instagram. And so, we're hitting them once we hit them and they go to the website, we're hitting them again. And, with retargeting, bottom of funnel ads. But now with TikTok, that's kind of our awareness channel, and how I would look at as what used to be like, national TV commercials. That's how I treat TikTok. I'm like, hey, I just want you to have seen FrostBuddy, heard of FrostBuddy. A lot of people you could ask, they'd probably say, if you show them the function, they'd be like, yeah, I've seen that. I don't necessarily know what the name is, but I've seen it and I know. And once I get there, then they're still seeing us through ads even more. And so really the whole thing is they're just finding us through video, which is great because then I can educate them what the product is, how it is. Now in terms of majority are one-time purchasers. Yes. So we do have to be profitable on the first purchase. It's not like I can have a loss leader or anything like that. So, our CPAs are pretty low compared to most people. But I would say as we've grown, that returning customer rate, has definitely pumped up year over year, especially for drinkware. You'll see some days on a new drop that we're at a 50% returning customer rate. So most of the time we hover around 20%, which is actually intentional, where we want to push that much new acquisition that the ratio is 20%, but it's really just stacking more and more net new customers is the goal. And then my biggest focus is community retention and how can we keep as many of those as possible.
But product innovation has to be part of it too. You guys have, when I first heard about it, I said, what? But you might not see it, but this thing, you just, you slide your, yeah, well, that's a little fuzzy, but, you slide your chapstick in the handle and it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. And plus you ship with a couple different lids, a couple different ways to drink. And do you guys think that Stanley kind of led the way with like, whoa, you can have a portable carrier, but you guys have come up with different ways to make sure it fits in the drink holder. There's different sizes, there's different shapes. And of course, now you got to have one for every season, every reason, every football team, every whatever. How do you continue to innovate that way?
I think about it as, well, one, we don't like what I would call Me Too products. That's one of our core values at FrostBuddy, is that like there's just no Me Too products. And it's actually funny. I've been interviewing product engineers lately, and that was a very big topic. So when I see larger corporate companies, really all companies come out with just more and more line extensions and products that don't mean anything, that's something I want to stay away from. And I think that helps us keep our resources a little leaner as well. But Stanley kind of came in and they created what I would say probably even a larger market than we already had because of Yeti. And then it's kind of, you're not going to beat the billion-dollar public giant that's backed at their own game. But what you can do is you can be different. And so that's where it's kind of with every product, it's like, how can we be different? How can we make something that is going to, honestly, in that video, grab your attention? Like right. The last pillar of our product development stage, like the last checkbox is, can I make videos around it? If I can't make videos around it, I won't launch it.
Right.
Because it doesn't make sense. And not only me, but, with affiliates, can that mom with 5,000 followers make a video about it in her kitchen? Can she do that? And so that's where, it's like, oh, the chapstick, that's an easy hook, solves a problem. It's different than everyone else. And, if you look at every product, you'd start to see, oh, that's probably what they're talking about. Oh, that's probably the hook in that video.
The designs, I encourage everybody to just go look at them. Every single one is a completely different look and feel than the one previously. It's really cool. And I would say, some of our founders they get the product wrong or they get the brand wrong. And what advice would you give them to where they should focus?
That's a good question. I haven't been asked that one. I think when I'm looking at product or brand first, one, I think it's probably a little industry specific. I think that could matter because there's some industries that the product can only be so different. Like I look at like the supplement industry as one that like there's only so many different ways you can make similar formulas, or there's only so many different ways you can make creatine. So in that regard, you might be thinking about the brand first and how can we find a niche? How can we find an opening, an audience that someone's not targeting well enough or not really focusing in on? But I still believe that you're going to have a much easier time if you go product first.
Yeah.
If you go product first, I think you're swimming downstream. If you go brand first, I think a lot of people are swimming upstream for a while until they maybe do finally get over that hump to where the brand is huge and it kind of doesn't matter what product they launch.
But I would also add, like, people can't be afraid to be willing to like change their branding to an extent. So like, I think Brock, what I would say or what I've noticed is like, we pick FrostBuddy sitting at my parents' kitchen bar from a name and not thinking much to it. But as far as like the logo itself, we have changed that a number of times. The other thing I would say, just like, he's built up our Facebook group of 70,000 members and he takes feedback a lot directly from them on what do you want to see. Like he's extremely responsive to the 70,000 people in our Facebook group. That's like a cult following. And they're probably some of our best advice givers on what to launch.
That's fascinating.
Wow. Is the Universal Buddy still the core selling product, or have you moved on from that?
Definitely still the number one product that we have is the Universal.
Interesting. And what percentage of the sales is now in that licensing personalization bucket?
So from a custom standpoint, about 30 to 35% of our sales come from like print on demand custom product. Whether that be licensed, it's not all licensed per se. I mean, we do a lot of like Buddy of the Week, where like every Sunday Brock launches a new limited design. A lot of them are print on demand, and we can use that as like trial to see, hey, is this going to pop off? Do we need to order this from China? So yeah, but it's roughly between 30 and 35%. And yeah, like our custom room is, for me, it's one of our more challenging rooms because if they get behind, it bottlenecks the entire company on, hey, new designs that we can launch, orders that can be shipped because we're backed up. So that is definitely the challenge.
How do you manage between this extreme growth? I mean, you're going from basically 0 to 70 in 5 years and staying on track with all of your other things, being operationally sound, having the right cash in the bank, being profitable. Like, how do you keep it all balanced? And how do you keep it balanced between the two of you?
Because like Brock said, like for him to go from 30 million to 70 million, he may add 6 people. And it's not a huge change in their world. And having the vision to go, hey, can we go from 70 to 110? Yeah, we could probably do it with the same, marketing and growth team. From a warehouse standpoint, it changes drastically. And we use a temporary staffing company that's been a massive help for us, to where the hardest part is the operation side of this. And managing that, I would say the growth in the warehouse for me is a total different learn, like from what I'm used to. I come from a world of managing 8 State Farm team members to now 100. So, and it's a different caliber of people that we're working with. That's very, very paycheck to paycheck, difficult backgrounds and whatnot. So yeah, it still comes back to like, we just figured out, like, I did not sign up to run the warehouse. I'll tell you that right now. Nor is it something that I'm like, hey, I want to be doing this for the next 5 years. it's definitely changed my lifestyle a little bit on traveling freedom. But it's one of them things where I'm going, I have no warehouse experience from an operation standpoint, but I understand the people, the business, how it needs to flow. I'm also closely tied in with Brock Scott on what's coming, when are the sales, when's the volume going to pick up, how do I need to staff appropriately. So for me, it still comes back to like the data and going, all right, how many orders can one person get out? If you're going to take in this many orders at peak season come Black Friday, what's that look like on paper? And then it's one thing to get it on paper. It's another thing to actually execute that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do believe there's a point you can grow too fast, but I also, somebody asked me the other day, like, at what point are you just comfortable of, hey, you've got enough coming in? And it's like, I don't ever want to, and I think this is just kind of how we were raised. And this is the athletic or competitiveness of us of, I don't ever want to be comfortable and stagnant, because at the end of the day, then I'm like, well, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
so to me, if we're not growing, we're losing market share, and eventually in my mind, we go out of business. So I just
Right.
want to, I want to keep flourishing, and Brock is really good with the coming up with new products, new launches, what's next. I feel like I can keep the operational side of this intact as long as I know what his vision is.
One thing I think, and this started, I think, before you guys started FrostBuddy, your North Star is very, very clear in a lot of the things you guys do. And it's faith, family, and community. And that probably started around the kitchen table at home and you guys growing up. How do you ensure that continues as you scale this company?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously gets way harder as you grow, as I'm sure you've seen yourselves, and it's something that I think you have to be very intentional. Obviously, when you're first starting it, that hey, we're going to stick to this no matter how big we grow, and me on the marketing side and on the kind of customer facing side, I've always said, like, every Easter, I'm going to send an Easter email that involves faith, involves God, Jesus, why Easter is Easter. If I lose customers because of that email, that's fine. Because if I'm doing this just purely for money, then that's empty. And I think we were fortunate early on to learn by scaling that fast that it is empty at the end of the day. And, I think that is kind of where, the upbringing helps a ton. And just that we've seen things, and, you go through challenges, you go through struggles that kind of help you understand that, like, yes, we are doing this for money, but there's also so many other things that we're doing this for, whether it be employee impact, whether it be the impact we can have to customers, whether it can be, hey, I have 1 million followers that I could probably give a better message to. I think we've just seen yesterday about how terrible things can be in the world. And so, I think it's being very intentional at the top. And as you grow, as you bring on people, it's making sure that they understand this is how it is at the top. Because if you have 10 heads of departments and they're not doing that, it's just that if one person's not doing it, it's just going to trickle down, and the whole culture is going to crack right then and there. So, that's where I think, we have a Monday alignment meeting every single Monday where we're all on Zoom and we're all talking. And, that to me is super important to make sure everyone's aligned, everyone's on the same page. And, it's like, hey, we might lose some customers for some things, but I would rather stay strong to the things that we believe in and gain diehard fans, quite frankly, than I would to try to play this crazy middle ground where I personally think you end up just pissing everybody off because they want you to stand for something.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, a long answer, but like, I think just being very, very
good.
intentional. Like
I would agree. Because I remember, and I think, you can read it, you can hear about it, but until you go through a lot of things yourselves, it doesn't apply. Because like, I remember the days where it's like, man, we sold $100 today, or can we hit 1,000? And then it's like, hey, can you hit 10,000? Can you hit 100? The numbers literally never end, and there's always somebody who's doing more than you, that you can chase. And if you're constantly living in that world, like there's zero peace or fulfillment of never appreciating what you have. So it's like, for me, like I never want my identity to be tied up in FrostBuddy, because there will come a day that it is not here. So I don't want all of a sudden my life to be, okay, what's next? Who am I? And I've totally lost myself because it's wrapped up in FrostBuddy.
Very well said. Both of you. I think that was great. We have a variety of different listeners, founders, early stage founders, those that want to make the leap into entrepreneurialism. What are maybe 1 to 2 lessons, you've learned that you would love to just share with them?
You want to go first, Brock? You want me to?
If you have it, I need to think about that for a second.
Yeah, I guess I got a couple things. For me, is focus on the people more than the product and the process. I think the right people make your life a lot easier and create a lot more fun. And then the other thing for me would be just actually start. I see way too many people that overplan and try to get everything laid out right before just jumping in, and it's never ever ever going to go the way that you plan it. I think I read something the other day. It was like, it's like crossing the street and you look both ways. Check all the traffic and you forgot to look up and the plane's crashing out of the sky coming at you. So it's like, it never goes the way that you think it's going to go. And then, where I think a lot of people is they don't have the grit to keep going through the setbacks because it's still monotonous. I don't care what job it is. Success is literally doing the boring thing day after day longer than anybody else.
It's so good.
I think mine's different. And, I think when I'm thinking about what I would tell someone or even what I would tell like myself about starting is, I think don't limit goals. Don't put a limiting goal out there, because I think what a lot of people do is they think they have this fake number or this fake ceiling in their head of what they can get to. And I think it can be so much larger than people even think it can be. And your friends are going to tell you it can only be a certain size. Your family is going to tell you. Actually, those closest to you are probably going to have the most limiting belief for what you can, how big it could potentially be. And I've learned that if you set we want to grow by 40%, you're going to grow by 40%. And I did the same thing. I got caught in the same trap. And this year I said, maybe we can grow by 250%. I don't know, but I just want to see how much we can grow. And I think that opened up my mind to go, wow, there's really an endless possibility here, because there's no finish line and there's competition, but there's no one in your way. It's really what you can control. And, I just think there's a lot of mindset beliefs, because society's going to tell you that you probably won't be that big. But it's like Phil Knight at some point was doing $10,000 a month, and now it's Nike. So that's probably, I wouldn't even go further than just that one thing, is just not limiting yourself.
Right.
And then those same people are going to ask you for a job later.
It's so true.
Right. They are. You're right. They're safer, they're more comfortable being employees.
Right.
Or you might hire them without them asking.
And truthfully, like, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Genuinely, like, there are people that you're not wired that way. Like, that's not your skill set. Because, like, I have a lot of people, even in the warehouse, like, what I see is like, they think, hey, I know how to do everything. I'm therefore worth a lot more money. And like, okay, incrementally, yes, but leadership and understanding people and how to rally a team is a totally different skill set than I just know how to do everything. But if you're terrible with the people and communicating and understanding how to ask the right questions to get them to open up to you, you're just not meant to, like, you're not ready for that position. So like, I try to coach these guys in here of like, it's my job to not put you in a position to fail, because nobody goes backwards. Like, If I move you up into that position and you fail, you're now out of a job when you might have been really, really good at what you were doing right before then.
You're right. You're spot on.
Don't be a martyr for your business. That is huge. And I think for some reason, and content, and if you follow, business books and business, a lot of business videos, motivational videos, and I love them. I love motivational videos, love to work out to them and all that. But a lot of times people can get caught up in literally killing themselves for their business. And whether that's lack of sleep, whether that's not eating, whether it's not working out, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a long game. My mental health went down the drain for 3 years, and it was hard to get back. And it still is a battle to get back. And quite frankly, you wish someone would be there to tell you that, try your best to detach from your business a little bit, because it isn't you, and it's not at all worth losing that, right? Physical or mental health, either one. And I think, for some reason we fantasize this thing of grinding, and it's like, yeah, you can grind, but it shouldn't be out of a place of negativity or anything like that. It should be because, you're loving what you're doing and you're enjoying it. And I think that's just something we get really wrong, and not a lot of people talk about. They'd rather fantasize how terrible they feel for some reason.
Well, I think everyone starts their own business with the goal of, hey, I want freedom, independence, and financial opportunity, right? And what they do is they end up building walls around themselves and locking themselves basically in a prison because they don't delegate. And to really scale, you have to have people that are smarter than you around you. And I see too often where they create a business that they are the entire business. And for a while, even with Brock, it's like, I'm always looking at, okay, if something happens to you, who's next in line? How does this run without you? And I think that's missed way too often with people that start businesses or are in leadership positions.
How old are you guys? You guys are so mature. You've learned a lot, clearly.
I'm
grown a lot.
I'm 31, Brock's 27.
27. Hey, you have enough panic attacks, you'll start to learn.
You guys are stellar. Yeah. I can't wait to have you back on when FrostBuddy's 500 million. We'll be ready.
That'll be, if we're still here, dang, that'll be interesting too.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. And I assume customers can just go to frostbuddy.com and go get their FrostBuddies, right?
Good.
Yeah, that'd be the easiest. And if they could do it, today, tomorrow, because we're a little slow right now, that would be great.
Yeah, it's the retail Q3 slowness. Yeah.
It's inspirational. You guys it's such a great story. Your parents, your family have to be so proud of you guys, and your community, and the fact that you could do it from where you are is an inspiration to everybody. We wish you nothing but continued success. And, cult is the right word. I mean, if people come to work there and buy your product because it's fun, it's cool, it's eclectic, it's different, it's exciting. And it's like, oh yeah, I can actually still put some liquid in here and drink, but it's also it's really a movement, and hats off to you guys. I mean, for being the inspiration you are. So appreciate you taking the time. Now get back to work.
We appreciate you guys having us on here.
I do appreciate it.
All righty. And for you listeners, subscribe, follow, review, give us some feedback. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys.